So yeah, it was right in this very spot that this guy, writhing in pain, decided to say, you know, would you stop talking because you're... Now, what do you think about my voice, Bruce? You said you liked my voice. I should get into radio.
Yeah.
Why would I...
It's distinctive. It's distinctive.
So here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Bruce, right here on the mountain, in the very same spot where that man that was writhing in pain told me that my voice was too annoying for my help. And now Bruce... The Lord of the Fog has directed me to Bruce to tell me to take that sin away, I guess, huh? That's good. I really like that. Well, I want to make a whole...
Embrace it.
I know.
It's amazing. It's a gift.
Well, check out the show. It's Hot Roll.
Hot Roll.
You're the first person on the mountain I've told about it, and this episode will be episode 4.
4, okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Those guys probably gonna turn me in.
First, let me tell you about my girl. You don't
Right, it would have to be 4. Because 1, oh my gosh, 1 was horrible.
No one else compares.
2 was completely to make up for it.
No one can erase since she decided.
3 was basically to, you know, it was just a long 2.
This is my fault from birth.
That's why it feels like. But this is 4.
Yeah. Hi.
There is a confluence. There is something historic.
That's exactly what we're talking about right now, friend. Yeah.
Right now in your earballs. What you just heard occurred to me minutes ago.
To tackle me when I wasn't looking, and every time I went to look for her, I'd look in the wrong
Hours, probably now.
someone else's space.
Papa had to make some tacos.
I took a gamble by wondering how far I could throw up my love for her.
All of the impending doom
Because the fog is starting.
is still impending, and it's still doom. Full. But what are you gonna do?
And you find yourself in just no person's land.
Guys, it was the most spectacular day ever. The snow that fell from the heavens was
And
beautiful.
it's off the con lift. And what? You can't drum them up on the phone?
You would glide effortlessly. And so what happened, and it was so magic at the end of the day, is this cloud, this thick cloud, and it's done it the last couple of days. And it's thick. The visibility goes to 0, 0, I guess is the term I've learned today.
I don't want to get lost in there.
No, you and I will go together. We'll go up. If you can...
Except, why does it have to be 2 zeros? I guess, you know, it's 0 for me, it's 0 for you. We had a ball out there, but that fog was thick.
Don't wait this time out. Don't toss the diamond till you turn our lives on end.
There was this hill where the fog was just really hanging. A green run went through it. And these families who had no skills in the powder all of a sudden have 0 visibility. It made people insane. They thought these were the last moments of their life, gliding in this absolutely pitch white atmosphere with every now and then a tree or a person or blew people away.
Let me feel your heart. Let me feel your soul. Let me feel your music. Let me rock and roll. Let me feel your heart. Let me feel your soul.
Eric, I am with a guest here at the bottom of Silver Lode who is reporting a skier who has given up off the side of Rosebud, put skis up in the air and needs somebody to help the person get out of the cloud up there. Is that something you can help with?
Team Thanks, good.
Copy that. Guest is standing right here where that's an affirmative.
We never found that guy.
Good morning.
It may not be where you are.
Today is 3/3/19, I think.
Again,
And
may not be.
I don't know
Where
if
you
people
are.
really talk about that on shows like this,
What, the day?
but that's what we're going to talk about, at least for the first few minutes. Get you up to speed.
Oh, good. Well, that's what I'm here for. Yes. 3:25. Has these long drives, and in the morning on the sort of brain restart, and the realization of just all of the shit before him. I'm sure this happens to everybody, right? With nobody at 5 in the morning to talk to, except his iPhone. What is wrong with that? So here he is with more to say about today.
I might end up behind this snowplow, and that's sometimes a good thing, and it's sometimes not a good thing.
See again, and that may be different where you are.
So this is a treacherous drive, and this is my disease that I have lately. This, I fear I'm gonna die and never see my daughter and let her know how much I love her disease. And I know there's probably a term for that one, but it really is at its height right now. And so I've been seeing people who are genuinely helping and being so sweet. And a lot of times they're strangers. They just know. They're like the safety patrol. They're skiing up on this guy that, like, God, I don't know. You know, my first meal was this McDonald's smoothie at McDonald's. And it was, you know, I didn't look all disheveled, and it actually looked like I was going to the bank. I was trying to look my best and not look like I was... and I didn't have any money. I ran out of money. And the woman, she gave it to me. She didn't know. She didn't have to sit there and ask me, how can I help? She didn't have to sit there and tell me that her prayers and her blessings were with me. I just, I said, I run to the car and let me get this fixed. It's only a couple bucks. And she's like, no. I don't know if that does anything for you folks. I don't know, but for me, it's real hard to see and know that side of humanity exists. But then there are the people that are sometimes real close, that are taking on a different role altogether. If you haven't been paying attention since, season 1, there's at least 2 or 3 psychiatry and psychology students following the story, and I'm sure trying to come up with some sort of prognosis for a class project. But there's a general pattern that I see, and I'm not afraid to talk about when it comes to these relationships, romantic and some that have resulted in offspring. And I've said that I'm not completely certain of the genetics, but I've taken full responsibility to the best of my ability. But in both, they're different. It's case by case, folks. And so I know that there's a and we're all guilty. We're all playing our roles. We're all. When I raised concerns about my first son and the health and his welfare, particularly while he was incubating, when they're at their most gentle and tender state, I'm sorry, there's just not a reasonable person that I know in this world that would have responded differently than I did to this situation. So I really think I've way used up my time here in the car talking to you, but it hasn't really been that long. So I honestly, if you called me up this morning and we talked on the phone, this is what you would hear, except it would be nicer. Wouldn't have all this nice music, and I've thought this through a little bit. There's been some thought. It's not all just kind of spilling out. Okay, so now, without further ado, Psychic Pat. All right, nothing. I scheduled this is she's supposed to be on. So, Psychic Pat, everybody. Fine. Passing the old barn, entering Park City. It's beautiful. The big white barn that for years was associated with Park City because the other thing that was associated with Park City burned down. So the white barn, just passing it now, folks. Today is going to be particularly cold. It's going to be particularly powdery. I left super early. And now...
Okay,
Here she is.
to explain what we're going to do here,
Okay.
and then we'll be right in the middle of it. This is a session between Gib and Pat, 13 June 96.
As I've said before, I'm a creative person. Psychic Pat gets me at some level that most don't. It's an expectation we have, isn't it, of each other? And she's drawing from experience she has with the husband, a family, etc.
Well,
You know, like a writer would, with embellishments.
but more chiseled, more where you can see the cheekbones or...
Well, she'll have me say a person's name where they work,
Getting a feeling
and then she goes off on first on facial and structure and hair, poking and prodding for the old judge a book by its cover approach.
in some way that she would stand out if you were to see her, because there's a distinctive...
As adults, in the real world, we are clearly more direct for the same information. Who's this new guy in your life? What does he do? What does he look like?
In the way that I typically find...
Is this him here in the leather?
It's not like a Raquel Welch or Sophia Loren.
What's
where
that knuckle tattoo? What does that say about
in front
him?
of the stage and take over just because of their looks. But there is something about her that's distinctive, so she gets noticed.
But often the conclusions these people make, are fitting the bill for objectivity that we're looking for. Do I look good in this?
Something, but doesn't...
And I just want the facts from Pat, like a reporter. Tell me what I need to know, so I don't fall on my sword like our pal King Saul, or worse, Macbeth. So out of respect for the people she may be talking about, who have long since gone on to fulfill the prophecies of someone else's sessions with Pat, I'm only fading up on like this.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but often if we want to be famous or whatever in the hell we want to be, the dream has to be ours to the point of exclusion, where we don't wait for somebody.
This is where she's kicking things off with something we all need to know. And it's really just a rule of codependency.
If I don't get anything to eat, I'm going to starve to death.
This is about being self-supportive. This is about being self-sufficient and getting this job done and not relying on another person or waiting for another person to come around to make it
She's
happen.
one of those women that somewhere in her midlife years she's going to wake up and go, my God, who am I? I'm married to somebody I've given in my life, my love, my children, and I haven't got a clue who I am or what I want to be.
That's not every woman.
And at that point, she could break loose and decide to go off and become a belly dancer.
Goat farmer.
She's not aware of her own need for her own identity at this point. So she could become quite codependent and not even have a clue she's doing it.
Okay, well, I'm back there with Raquel Welch and Sophia Loren stuff anyway.
Because one of these days, this
I
woman's
think
gonna wake
Pat
up
is
and
trying to
say,
figure
"Who
out if
am
I'm a
I?"
boob
And she's
man.
gonna fight like hell to
Because
find
then
it.
she could just map this thing right out
She's
from
young
there.
and in many ways very naive
But
right
I'm
now.
not. I don't know who she's even really talking
It'd be
about here
nice
because
to be in
no
a
one ran off to be a
relationship
belly
with because of the
dancer.
simplicity to
or
her.
a
She
goat
could just
urine
be in
farmer.
love and be happy with that, and
But
whatever
Pat
she gets
is still
good enough.
riffing. It's like this.
Long term,
Then she
that's not
says
enough.
things that are just, I don't know, they just might have a shot.
She'd be easy to marry if you really wanted to just get married and let yourself try to be in love. She'd make a good wife.
Who? Wait, what? What about my friend that's already a belly dancer? How about that? What? I'm not so sure who we're talking about
And
now.
usually what ends up happening, and I can't guarantee this for sure, but I'd probably predict it to happen more with you, the woman that will probably eventually draw the most attention out of you will be anything but complacent. She'll probably be demanding, somewhat dominant, very clear on what she wants, somewhat forceful in her identification of what she wants and how she's going to go about getting it. The main reason I think you'll end up with somebody like that, if you've got somebody sort of behind you cracking the whip and making you make your dream come true, you'll do it. If you have somebody behind you waiting for you to make the dream come true that you keep dreaming and don't doing anything about, you'll wake up one day and resent the woman. You practically need somebody that can push you to achieve your own goals. Anybody who doesn't push you hard enough, you'll probably learn to resent because it's almost like you're going to wait for them to make you make your dream come true, and they won't do it. And she got medium toned hair. It doesn't feel real dark.
So, and with that, I suppose then, I take that to the pathetic new single circuit. This description for my new bio on Tinder, I guess it'll just, be one of my best pictures of one of my nipples, and a description that says, my psychic Pat says, the woman that will probably draw the most attention out of you will be anything but complacent. She'll probably be demanding, somewhat dominant, very clear on what she wants. A Raquel Sophia Loren type, I'm sure. If you got someone behind you cracking the whip, like Sophia Loren and that Cleopatra thing. Yeah. I gotta tell you, I want to believe this one. Once again, special thanks to a church now contributing to this show, this electric drum set that just fills the room with rainbows and bubbles of love. When I punch my clenched fists at the air. Just yesterday I did this with a whole mouthful of Skittles candy. Also on today's show, a short animated segment about an all-American family that are a little dysfunctional at times. The Simmons, yes, the Simmons family. Yes, there's Gene, Madge, Brat, Ace, and Margaret. And now with their new talking dog, Otto. Hang on, little dudes, we're going for a ride. So that is coming up after this. Today's news that makes us all look like we're still in yesterday. God help us. First, this story from the Idaho Statesman. This bill would have ended child marriage for the underage in Idaho if the House voted it down. by Cynthia Sewell caught my eye around here, and Idaho is definitely included in that. People take a stand on righteous issues and place the opposition to them in a very uncomfortable position. That's how it's done. So while this bipartisan bill by Representative Melissa Wintrow, Democrat in Boise, calls the opposition a little behind the times, a little out of step, maybe, with the rest of the country. Harsh words. These folks who oppose her and this change really came out of the woodwork to say supporters of this bill are making consent from parents and judges easier to get for an abortion than to create an everlasting family. All right, just so you have a little background on Idaho, from 2000 to 2010, 4,080 children in Idaho that were reported were married. The youngest was 13 years old. I'm guessing mostly girls and not lesbian marriages. And that's according to data from the Unchained Last, a national advocacy group, and Van Halen tribute band. Nothing stays the same. Okay, that's enough. Unchained. Yeah. In Idaho and these other places, folks, it's not two 13-year-olds getting an early start in a camper van either. Here's Colin Nash, Stills, and Young to illustrate. When it is legal for a 30-year-old to marry a 15-year-old, well, that is not marriage, he says, because they are not equal partners. That is institutionalized child abuse. That is arranged rape, said Colin Nash, Stills and Young. They're still together. Just before the whole assembly. And then he went into a lovely rendition of Hold to the Rod. The iron because they didn't have steel back then, rod. How does that one go? They have it. It's in the catalog. So Idaho still holds its top spot for child brides in the country. Predominantly girls being married off to men who have been taught since they were boys that it's part of being most righteous, like the living prophets before them, to take child brides as a man gets older. God. To be fruitful and restore the earth and heaven to righteous people. I mean, these guys really, they're just looking for fertile land to plant their seed. So it wasn't enough then for Representative Wintrow to take such a soft, classy touch by saying, instead of ending child marriages outright, she said, this is a modest approach to bring it into conformity with our statutory rape laws. I just love it when people don't sell out and call it an anti-pedo bill. You remember Idaho. It's all I have between me and Canada and Lake Joe. Idaho just became the last place to make public breastfeeding legal. The people have spoken and they want to keep the top spot. That is according to a reputable national report for the highest rate of child marriages. Marry 'em young, bury 'em young. Young girls who will never taste any sort of freedom in their lives. So, I hear these other folks saying, well, we shouldn't even have licenses at all. But mathematically alone, some of those people are the same people who just a short time were using marriage licenses as a way to keep out the gay. No one is even talking about all the 13-year-old boys who could have matured a bit and married a good percentage of those now trophy wives, kept girls. means for me, I'll just take the long way around for now when I have to flee to Canada. Oh, Canada. But who am I? These divorce statistics, they force you to hear in these 2 one-hour videos for divorce education during the waiting period of 60 days. Now keep in mind, I don't want a divorce, didn't want one, didn't ever want one, that's not my thing. They're hitting you with stuff like 70% of kids lose their fathers from divorce.
With divorce. But parents should look for any signs of distress in their child. Sometimes children
The financial stats for the cost to the individuals and the cost of $18,000 per individual to the taxpayer because of the slope of these people into poverty.
to help your children cope with the divorce.
The effects on baby are horrendous. They don't list any good news.
After my parents divorced, I was sad and mad. I didn't want to move and I didn't want to leave my friends. I just wanted my mom and dad to get back together. I didn't want to go to school.
Good news, more people to change babies' diapers. You know, good news, more grandmas and grandpas for babies at Christmas. Also, I haven't been warned like this about any step in the process of bringing baby into the world. I went with my wife to all the classes. We watched hours of videos showing things that I have never seen in my whole life. Where are you going to see that? Now this? It's shocking. I didn't want a divorce. I do not want a divorce. Never in my life wanted a divorce. And now, I regret somehow is now well beyond the point of no return toward the big D, and I don't mean Dallas.
Children experiencing divorce during these changes may react in a variety of ways. Their brains and bodies are both changing, and they are able to think about
So let's
divorce
recap.
differently than younger children. Which can
All is going well.
in some ways.
I make all the meals. I do all the dishes. I rub the mama's feet. I pick her up off the floor every night before she catches herself on fire. It's tough, but that's what happens when people take this stuff for a long period of time. I love her. We'll get through it. It's not a big deal. Until
Mixed emotions are especially common when
baby comes along. And I can't do it. Can't be a party to it. I have to report it. I'm compelled to report the overuse of prescription drugs and its effects
anger, sadness, confusion,
on
and
another
pain.
innocent human being.
Teenagers might act
Sorry if that was a bad call in some people's hearts or minds, but in mine, there's no part of my flesh that opposes that.
struggling to accept the reality of the breakup.
So I made the call. And I said, nope, I'm not doing it. I've had no regret since, only because that's all that I've done.
It is important for parents to closely monitor their teenagers' activities.
Everything that's happened since, no one could wish on their worst. Right? So the reality is I have to file for divorce. If it were me and the roles were reversed, the next time I have baby and I say, nope, you can't have her, what are you going to do? What do you think the law would do? See, instead of the hostage option that women get, and I'm not saying it's sometimes not for good reason here. I appreciate those reasons, but not the tunnel vision of the law, especially in this case.
Sometimes children even feel like they need to find ways to save money to help make ends meet, so they might skip meals or drop out of activities. This can distract them.
And now I have no recourse or way to ensure the safety of my wife and my baby that I love. We all know this day would come. It's not sustainable. So the reality is I have to file for divorce. It's actually a safety to marriage because for me, to have a right to my first son, it was impossible when his mother immediately fled to another state. I was fresh into my 20s and being confronted with this manic depressive drug addict having a baby, and she says it's mine and disappears on some sort of orange Phoenix to Oakland. So trust me, divorce, for all the pain and misery, seemed my only option, but she beat me to it. And I guess couldn't wait to put baby and me into this pool of national statistics.
Preteens and adolescents also want both parents to take an interest in their lives.
And I can say it is a lot harder to get a divorce than it is to get married. Or to do really just about anything else.
The following slides describe 5 stages of grief proposed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
See if you can
that are
remember
common
those
for adults to
5
experience
stages.
during a divorce.
So let's spend some time in the 6th stage, the solution here. You, me, and the others make 3. I had other news stories, but this is interesting. Now, you know my great uncle. He was the dean of the law school over there at the University of the U. Maybe one of his pals, after decades of his tenure, might help him to express himself from beyond the grave. And you know how much I love a good ghost story, so let's see if we can summon up William H. Leary, Uncle Leary.
I'm delighted to welcome you to the 53rd annual William H. Leary Lecture. I'm also delighted to welcome Professor Siegel. So this is a very grand tradition here at the College of Law. Obviously, 53 years is a long time, and at which we have hosted some tremendously inspiring and thought-provoking speakers, some of the most eminent law professors in our history. Tonight is no exception. Professor Siegel will be, as you know, discussing a very controversial set of issues in some very divisive times in our country. So I thought I would speculate a little bit about what William H. Leary might have thought about tonight's events. And for a perspective, for those of you who don't know his history, Dean Leary served as our dean for 36 years, from 1915 to 1951. That was through the terms of 5 presidents, including FDR's 4 terms as president. So he led us through World War I, through the Great Depression, through World War II, the Korean War, the Cold War, the McCarthy era. So he knew something of controversial times. He knew something about the role of intellectual discourse to get us through these critical legal issues.
All right, are we still all here? No, damn it, just me again. Oh, good, here you are. Okay, I want you to know it's a myth that you can just take a rag and soak it with chloroform or ether and come up from behind somebody and just quickly suffocate and put them to sleep. Realistically, this last minute of the show is about as fast as it can be done. But that was fast. So before you think that the show's been hijacked by NPR and sponsored by Summer's Eve douching products for all your spring cleaning needs. All just so I can prop myself up. That was Robert W. Adler. And Robert is going to be back next time with his friends Frosty, with our honored friend Professor Reva Siegel. And folks, when you have yourself the host of a show that's also the editor, producer, writer, composer, it just makes more sense to end the show here and split it into 2 shows. And so now we have show 4 and show 5 coming up. It's almost ready to go. You're witnessing some sort of a show mitosis. When there's a gas leak, and you can just go. Everybody goes home. And you go home and Dr. Phil, what? That's a stupid show. And you get to come home and eat soup and see what it's like. So, hey, that's what's happening. And so next time on the show, and maybe you'll just roll through, maybe it's already here, but if it's not, next time on the show, we are going to go deep with Professor Riva Siegel, our honored guest who came all the way to come and talk with us here in Salt Lake City on this honored day. And so I'm going to leave you with that, and then, thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. As always, thanks for listening all the way to your new favorite show, Hot Roll. Donate to the show at paypal.me/Acme Singing Telegrams. Surprise me. Make my day. Also, and without further ado, a huge thanks to everybody over there at McDonald's restaurants. If you haven't been there, they do this thing called a Big Mac. And, sometimes their food isn't so great, but their service is wonderful. Ask for, what's her name?
How many times have I tried to remember your name?
Lisa. Karen.
How many times have I tried to remember your name?
Becky. Rebecca. Frosty. Did he say Frosty?